Hey guys, it's me, Shell360, and you know that I don't normally talk about photo cards on my channel because I'm not a big photo card collector. Honestly, I collect shiny, and shiny's got a comeback, so I'm thinking about photo cards right now because of that comeback, but I'm really not the authority to talk about photo cards because it doesn't impact my life in the way it does a lot of other collectors here on the channel. But because I'm subscribed to a lot of different people, I hear the conversations about photo cards, and I hear conversations from people who collect a lot of photo cards saying that photo cards are way overpriced and they should be a lot cheaper than they are. Now, there are some photo cards that I've seen that have sold for way more than they ever should in reality, and I don't understand how they were allowed to sell for the amounts that they did because it's obscene. For instance, I think there was an Irene card that last year it ended up selling on eBay for like over $200, and it was from the Red Velvet finale, and I'm like, yeah, that's insane. That doesn't make any sense. But a lot of people are suggesting that photo cards should cost around $5 to $10, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't agree with that at all. Let me tell you why. First of all, an album, the new reality of the situation is an album is now starting to cost around $30. Why? Because COVID. Because there's not as many people to work in the factories. There's not as many people to do mail delivery. There's not as many people to create and source the raw materials to make these albums. Everything is running shortage right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but like that's a thing across the board. And so in order to have your K-pop album, it costs more to produce it. It costs more to ship it. You're going to have to pay more. And now that album that used to be $20 is $30. And because of that, that photo card that you think $5 is reasonable, $5 is not scratching the surface anymore. You should be paying more for that photo card because that album costs more. But not only that, but let's think about it from the point of view of a gambler. Now, you have an album and you have let's say a 1 in 8 chance of getting your bias, right? And you open your album, you don't get your bias. Now, you have a choice. You could put another $30 down on the table and have them spin the wheel and hope that you get your bias, or you can put down $20 on the table for a sure winner, get what you want, and walk away. Which one makes more sense monetarily? It makes more sense to pay for your bias. Why? Because of the convenience. You're not paying as much for a brand new copy of the album. You're getting exactly what you want without going through the hassle. And it's obviously valuable enough for you to chance buying another album. So yeah, it's worth that 20 because you were willing to spend 30 initially. So I really do feel like, yes, it's unfair when people sell a favorite member for $100. Like, that sucks. But also, depending on how many people are pulling this and how much that album cost, you know what? That $100 might be a better deal than buying 3 more albums. And I'm thinking of people like NCT collectors. 1 out of 23 members, you're not going to buy 23 albums hoping that you got everybody. I mean, you might, but most people aren't. Most people don't got it. I don't got it. I'm not going to do that. And so, along with, the idea that photo cards need to cost more, is also us embracing the idea that K-pop albums are luxury goods. Now, it's hard for people to believe that a K-pop album is a luxury good because it's really easy to get your hands on a K-pop album. You can buy a K-pop album from a lot of different people. You can buy a K-pop album from Amazon. You can buy it at Barnes & Noble. You can go into Target and buy it. You can order it online. It's readily available. And normally luxury goods aren't readily available. Usually they're like something that gotta get it before it sells out. Only a few people have it. Bro, I got it on the drop right when it dropped and it's totally sold out right now. A lot of times that's what people think of when they think of luxury goods, or like they only sell it to certain people who register and then those people have to get an invite before they can buy. That's what people think of when they think of luxury goods. But let's look at K-pop albums for what they really are. You're paying $30 for pages and binding, maybe a box, and a little square piece of paper and maybe a sticker. You're buying a K-pop album even though all of the music on that album is more than likely available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Pandora, Amazon, whatever streaming service you use. The contents of that album, you can see unboxings on YouTube if you want to see the pictures. People are scanning the pictures onto Twitter, Instagram. Even if they're AR cards, people are uploading the AR videos from the AR cards. So you're paying to hold in your hand what you could digitally access almost anywhere, because that physical item is important. And that physical item is not food, it's not shelter, it's not clothing, it's not medicine. It's a luxury. So when we complain about, oh, people are pricing photo cards too high, or, oh, this person is asking for too much money for this, again, these are still luxury items, and we kind of need to adjust our mindset regarding luxury items. Now, does that change what I said before about trying to get the best deal on delivery? Does that change what I said before about trying to find the best deal on buying K-pop when it comes out? Absolutely not. I mean, even luxury goods, people buy that shit on consignment. They buy it off a resale. So you ain't got to pay the highest prices for luxury. But we really do need to start looking at some of this stuff for being the luxury that it is. And also because looking at it as the luxury it is, it gives us more empathy and more understanding for the people who can't financially support these artists, because it is a luxury. What is $30 for somebody who's low income? Well, as somebody who's been low income in their lifetime and is still in a lower income status, to be honest, I'm considered upper lower income, I guess. I can tell you that $30 is groceries. It really is. And some of you are saying, how can that be possible? Well, if I was to go down to my local Dollar Tree, I could buy a bag of dried beans, I could buy rice, I could buy sugar, flour, salt, seasonings, I could buy stuff in the frozen food section, which also includes like slices of cheese, lunch meat. I could buy all of these things. I could go to my Walmart and buy these things as well. I could buy a dozen eggs for $2. $30 is a lot of money for a lot of people. And if K-pop on average is costing $30, then yeah, it is a luxury, because absolutely that much money could be maybe a week's worth of food for a family of 4 who's lower income. And so I just really want to talk about that, because we don't talk enough about how it's a luxury. And that's part of the reason why when I gave away my used albums, I felt like, you know what? I don't have to be ashamed about the fact that I'm not giving away brand new albums, because there's people who can't afford brand new albums. And there's people who even buying them used when people are reselling albums for $20, like, yeah, they can't do that either. Now, let's also talk about, since I talked about photo cards being priced well, let's talk about the fact that albums still are consistently overpriced. Now, I just got through saying a new album's going to cost you $30. So what do you think a used album should cost? Well, if the photo card's selling for $20, then I guess you would think that the album should sell for $20. You're right. And it's a reality that I have had a very hard time embracing, because when it comes to used albums, I'm like, $15 is my max. That's it. Because like, I think about it in the way I think about used clothes. If I'm buying some clothes that are pre-worn, I want to pay half the retail price. But there's albums that go out of print that deserve to be paid more. There are albums that are heavy and people are shipping it all inclusive for $20. You deserve to pay more, because shipping has gotten a lot more expensive. Like, when you look at it all inclusive, $20 for an album that you would normally pay $30 for, but it's missing a photo card, is not that big a stretch. It really isn't. But again, because K-pop is so accessible, we don't look at these things as being the luxury items that they are. The other thing that really kind of bothers me about the fact that we don't call them the luxury items that they are is that there's a lot of young people who watch YouTube videos, they get on Instagram and Twitter, and they want to be collectors. And when people are just like flipping about, oh yeah, and I bought 5 CDs today, no big deal, they start to feel like, well, that's what it is. Like, that's what people are doing. That's the vibe, and it's not a big deal, and I shouldn't be stressing out about the fact that if I buy 5 CDs at current prices, I'm spending $150. And I think it shames a lot of young people who just don't have the means. They're like, I'm not the equivalent of my peers because I can't buy these items the way anybody else can. I just can't go into the Target and ball out like everybody else can do. And so I think that, again, I'm not saying we need to be heavy-handed by being like, and this is my luxury K-pop shooter. We don't have to do all that. We don't have to do all that. But we do need to say, like, and, you know, it cost about this much money. That's it. That's it. That's the only acknowledgement. That is it. You don't have to talk about this is expensive for some of you hoes. You don't have to talk about this is light work for me because I got it like that. You can just say, I bought this album. This album cost this much, and keep it moving. And I've been trying to make it a point over the years to say how much my K-pop cost, and if I got it on a good deal, I've been trying to share that deal, because a big part of that drive is by letting people know where to find K-pop affordably, but also let them know, like, if you don't see me buying a lot of K-pop, it's because it costs this much money. If you ain't buying a lot of K-pop, I get it, because it costs this much money. Just being real about the situation. I think that's really what our audiences, for those of you who unbox on YouTube, it's really what our audiences deserve. Because I think a lot of times the reaction we get from people, I don't get it anymore because I'm not really unboxing like I used to. The reaction we get from people when they ask, like, are you rich? How can you afford to do all this? Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to work 2 jobs to ever get a K-pop thing. A lot of that is born out of the fact that people are so flippant about the cost of K-pop. People are afraid to talk numbers. They really are. And, you know, I think we have to give a little grace where grace is due. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that they're paying $40 for an album, $50 for an album. Nobody wants to mention that, because some people are. Some people are paying for like rush overnight shipping, and they're paying a high premium to be the first person to be able to unbox something on YouTube or wherever else. But I think you should talk about it. And this is not a call out to a specific YouTuber, because I know some people are like, oh, you must be talking about Katie, you must be talking about Carolyn. No, I'm not. It's not that at all, because there's a lot of people who are the first to unbox, and a lot of times those two are not the first to unbox something. They just happen to be the most popular. I feel like by saying I got this overnight, it ended up costing me $50, it adds a sense of reality to the deal, because it lets people know you can do this too. But be prepared, because this costs. It costs. So I just wanted to have that conversation with you guys, because, again, like I said, I feel like nobody else is having this conversation. And or if they're having it in a different way than what I'm processing it as. But as we move to a society that starts to be a little bit more eco-friendly, that starts to be a little bit more environmentally conscious, there's one added layer of K-pop that we don't talk about enough. It's the carbon footprint of K-pop. Because it's not just how much it costs to manufacture K-pop, but how many emissions go into shipping our K-pop from Korea to overseas markets. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's not just driving down the road. It is boats, it is planes, it is trucks, it's all kinds of transportation in order to get it from point A to point B. And if you're getting it done overnight, you're probably talking planes. So if we want to be a little bit more environmental friendly, if we want to be a little bit more understanding of the fact that we don't have to have these things, then maybe we do need to start talking about money and talking about what the real cost of K-pop is. And, you know, maybe not having a large collection, maybe not having everybody, maybe, you know, going ahead and opting for the digital route for some people that aren't your faves. Maybe that's the environmentally responsible thing to do. And I'm not saying that anybody should quit collecting K-pop. I'm not going to quit collecting K-pop. I really wish that K-pop would find a way to manufacture in my country. That would be a game changer for me. But I also say that maybe don't be ashamed of the fact that you're not buying K-pop, because maybe you're being a better steward of the earth than I am. That's still a thing that I think about all the time, that I would really appreciate if they would manufacture K-pop in my country. Like, if they would take the dimensions, the scale, the specs, and they would find somebody in the United States to print the American copies. That way, I'm leaving a much smaller carbon footprint on the ocean, because I'm not paying for overseas shipping. But that's just a pipe dream at this point. Anyway, thank you guys for thank you for joining me for this conversation. I feel like I could have this conversation because there isn't a lot of K-pop news to speak about. But also, like I said in the beginning, don't take me saying this as me hating on anybody for their ability to get stuff. As somebody who's lower income, like, I get it. I ain't always got it. And I'm also not saying that anybody who does spend a ton of money on K-pop is a bad person, or that they should be ashamed of themselves or anything like that, because we do what we need to get by. I can speak from personal experience. There have been times when I bought K-pop when I should have known better, but because I was going through emotional turmoil, I was like, this is helping me process that. This is helping to distract me. And so I'm doing this because it makes me feel better in a time when nothing else is making me feel better. So that's why I say it's not a critique of any particular person. It's just trends that I'm seeing and I wanted to address. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.